School board meeting for November the 5th, 2019 is officially opened with our Pledge of Allegiance by Mr. Bud McInnes and our invocation by the Reverend Dan Phillips.
I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Father, we are assembled here in this room, in this meeting, and we ask, Father, that you guide, that you direct,
Please.
that you encourage each and every one that is on the dais.
Yes, God.
And that, Father, for everyone that is here today, there are countless hundreds of others in the classroom, working with students,
Yes.
giving of themselves, helping to encourage and to inspire our students.
Yes, God.
Father, as your Son walked upon this earth, he did not see hundreds and hundreds of people, but Father, he saw the multitudes as each individual. And so, Father, for the teachers, for the administrators, for those in our school system that are working with our students, may they see each and every one as an individual, and may they see each one as someone that they can invest into, someone that they can inspire, and someone that they can encourage.
Yes.
And Father, we ask this in Jesus' name.
Jesus'
Amen.
Amen. Thank you.
Thank you, Brother Dan. I need my backscript. At this time, we are scheduled to have a presentation by Imagination Library. Okay.
I just want to say thank you for the opportunity. My name is Dean Porter with Hunger Fight, and y'all should have some handout that we gave you. You'll see that we put our hashtag on there, I Dream. I don't know if you're anything like us, but I dream quite a bit. As my wife says, I talk a lot in my dreams too. But at Hunger Fight, our dream is to eradicate childhood hunger and illiteracy. And today I want to talk to you a lot about our literacy program, as we have teamed up with the Dolly Parton Imagination Library to help with the literacy in the 13 counties in Northeast Florida that we service, but specifically with Putnam County and the children that we have here, to guarantee that preschoolers from birth to age 5 are better read before they get to school, to get them better prepared. As you can see, I've highlighted some of the things on the second page that what we know through the literacy programs and through the 25 years experience with the Dolly Parton Imagination Library, that 90% of a child's critical brain develops before age 5. And that children who receive highly educated, high quality education are 70% more likely to graduate high school than not. And when a child starts, when children start behind, they rarely catch up. It's just very, very important that we catch these children when they're young. You know, children learn to read up to age 3, and then beyond that, until age 3, children are learning to read, and after grade 3, and after grade 3, they're learning to reading to learn. And studies show that we've not developed some basic literacy skills. By the time they reach school, they're 3 or 4 times more likely to drop out. Approximately 37% of our children start kindergarten without the necessary skills for lifetime learning. So Hunger Fight is working throughout the community with pediatric offices, community centers, Early Learning Coalition. In fact, the early ELC in this area has been a huge help to us to get the 539 children that we currently have enrolled in our program right here in Putnam County, to get them on board. So we work with all these outlets and families to let these programs know that any child from birth to age 5 can sign up in our program in Putnam County, and they'll receive an age-appropriate book mailed directly to their house every single month until they age out or move out of the area. And so currently Hunger Fight, through our Feed the Need program, partners with the Imagination Library and has books over 1,500 children in the 44 zip codes throughout Northeast Florida that we service, but that includes all of the zip codes in Putnam County. And these are children that are going to be our leaders for tomorrow. And so we're just wanting to emphasize and get the word out that we're very excited about this program. It enhances a program that's currently with the hospitals that y'all have right now with the babies that are being born, but this is one that picks up with that and enhances with that current existing program. And the cost is done at a mere $2.50 per child. To think that we can cover a child for $30 a year and cover that child and get them excited about reading, get them educated, get them better prepared for school, and let them become the leaders of tomorrow is just crazy. And it enhances what the other program we have, our Feed the Backpack programs. If you'll notice on our front page, our tagline, food for their bellies, books for their brains. This goes right along with the iDream. And we want to just kind of tell you guys a little bit about what we're doing, tell you the excitement of what we're doing. We work hand in hand with Feed the Need with the Denise Bramlett here in town. If you've never been to one of our backpack programs, I know, Jane, you have, come to one of our backpack programs. They're 2 hours of controlled chaos, lots of fun. We pack yeah, it is. We pack tens of thousands of meals in 2 hours, and then we put them back into the communities. I know right now we work with her and service about 863 children with the backpack programs for the nutrition side. But beyond the nutrition, if they can't read, there's just no opportunity in life. And so we're looking to get the word out there and get support. Obviously, with the literacy program, it is a 5-year commitment. So once that child is in the program, we're on the hook from if we get them at birth, we're on the hook for 5 years. And but it's something that we feel is vitally important to that child's success. And we're super excited to see this because I know that's been a huge thing of what you guys have been striving for, and that's impressive. Very, very impressive.
Are you looking for a letter of support from the board for a legislative appropriation?
We are. This is the first time we've ever gone to the state for appropriations money. We've always steered away from government money, but I happen to have Tracy Davis's assistant that moved across the street from my wife and I, and we found out what we did. He said it was time for us to go. After 7 years of never going after it, he said it was time for us to go for state money, so yes, sir.
Well, I can't speak for the whole board, but I think we would, if that would be okay with the board, I
Yeah.
think it would be neat to.
We elect Bud to do it.
We'll let. Well, I think we better have,
Well, he told me he was up doing it.
Ms.
so-
Gilliard as the chairman, so.
Well, that would be amazing. We just sent our
That'll do it.
application into
That'll
Bobby
do it.
Payne's office.
Yes.
And I know the deadline's the 15th, so that would be amazing.
15th as in of this month?
Yes, ma'am.
Oh, he already has it written then.
He
That
does
one
it.
went.
We'll make sure you get the
But
letter.
just run it by the superintendent as well, Bud, so
We'll be meeting with legislators, our legislative delegation, and we'll be up there during the session.
It's in
So,
here, Sam.
we'll be glad to give you a good word of support as well.
Well, we sure appreciate it. We've been trying to meet with as many of them as we can.
Well, good, a letter from the
And,
superintendent separately would be great,
Yeah,
too.
yeah, we can definitely do that.
That would be awesome. We would take any recommendations from y'all. And like I said, we want to get all the children in the county. We're fortunate. We decided that we went into this, that we were going to dive deep into the outlying counties of Putnam, Bradford, Union, and Baker and cover the entire counties. And so we're super excited to be a part of it. And you can see the numbers on the very last page. And I highlighted Putnam County. We lost 27 of them this last month only because they graduated out and went into school. But that's a good thing. So.
This is part of our entire graduation rate initiative, that we can't wait till they're seniors. We have to start, early
Absolutely.
on, birth to
It
5.
birth
sir.
to 5 is big.
Yes,
yeah.
sir. Very, very important that we catch them young.
Absolutely.
I don't.
So.
We
Thank
certainly
you so
appreciate
much.
you providing us that
And it-
information.
do kids enroll?
They simply, we give them forms, we drop off forms at the preschools and the daycares, and they can also go to our website, or they can go through the Dolly Parton Imagination Library, because we are their boots on the ground for the 13 counties of Northeast Florida. So they can go straight to hungerfight.org if they want to. They can call us, or they can find the forms at the various different preschools. ELC is also working very closely with us.
And are we in any way, sort of tracking these students? How long has this program been in effect?
We just launched it here in Putnam County in February.
In February?
Yes, ma'am.
Now, for the other districts that you may have done it for, I just want to see, once these students make it to high school,
Yeah.
are you tracking to see, did this really do?
That's what,
Be tracking how many people have left, have already completed the
Yeah.
5 years, because they have it for 5 years.
And they graduated, those 27 of ours graduated. Oh, that's great then,
And
okay.
it's still the highest of all the counties.
Yes, ma'am.
how long has it been in existence?
Well, Dolly Parton Imagination Library has been 25 years. So one of the reasons we partnered with them is because they have the literary experience of 25 years. And Jacksonville being a relocation city, one of the 7 relocation cities in the country, we have found through their experience that immigrants, our immigrant parents are able to learn in the basics with their children in the privacy of their home and are assimilating better. And in other areas of high dropout areas, the parents are able to learn the basics in the privacy of their home and are going back and filling out job applications better, going back and getting GEDs and actually better in their lives as well. So they've got all the literaries on their board and they're picking the books every year. So it took us from nowhere to 25 years, leaps and bounds ahead. So we're super excited about that.
I saw an interview over the weekend with Dolly, and she said this is a thing in her life that she's the most proud of.
Oh, yes, ma'am. Absolutely. Yeah. So you'll see the zip codes. If you see zip codes, like in Jacksonville, we chose the Rebalt Rains area and pockets of Arlington that have heavy drug use. And then we've got a couple zip codes in Clay County. We couldn't just pick up all of Duval and Clay because it was like a budget that well beyond the budget we've ever done annually with just the feeding side.
It's almost unbelievable that we have children living in rural areas of Putnam County that people don't even know are out there. It's,
Yes, sir.
I mean, our homeless project finds quite a few of them, but it's just incredible sometimes.
Yes, sir.
But I know you're after them.
We're trying hard.
I know you are. And thank you.
Yes. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Yes, most
Thank y'all so much
definitely.
for the
From board,
opportunity.
we appreciate what you're doing.
Yes, ma'am.
Um,
Well, keep your eye out on
Every
us.
bit helps,
Yeah.
yes.
Well, keep your eye out on us because, and if you ever get a chance to come to one of our events, please do. And,
The next one scheduled, or do you?
well, if you're in Jacksonville on the 15th or 16th, we'll do one where we do about 350,000 meals in one day and put them back in the community. And the books are actually just mailed directly to the homes, but a portion of 25 cents of all of the funds we raise go toward the literacy side of our program. Because we only launched the literacy side in January, but this month it marks our 7th anniversary for the hunger side, the feeding side. And that's 7.3 million meals later.
We want to get a copy, if we don't have your email address, so we don't know where to send this, and Bud, you might have it. I want to make sure we get a copy so we can send a letter as well.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Dean.
Yes.
Thank you so
And
much.
thank you so
Thank you,
much.
Jason. Thank you.
Thank you all.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Jason, you were right. He's a very dynamic speaker. Oh, yeah.
Oh, no, we never heard
Thank you very
you.
much. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
That's it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Is your husband provost? Is he the provost of the college? Oh, okay. Thank you, sir.
The next item on our agenda is the public hearing. We have some adoptions and some amendments, so we'll go ahead and get right into that.
Madam Chairman, I'd like to make a motion that we adopt policy number 2371, Hope Scholarships.
I second.
Mr. Buckles has motioned that we adopt policy number 2371, Hope Scholarship, and it was seconded by Mrs. Holly Pickens. All in favor, let it be known by aye. Aye. Opposers, hearing none, motion carries 5-0.
And for the public, these are updated by a group we contract with to keep us congruent with state law. So just so you know what we're doing.
Thank you, Mr. Buckles, for clearing that up.
Madam Chair, I make a motion, we adopt policy number 744.01, video surveillance and electronic monitoring.
Just to be clear for the record, it was 7440.
7440, you're right, Mr. Douglas. I was just testing you. All right,
His eyes
let me
are-
repeat it. Adoption of policy number 7440.01, video surveillance and electronic monitoring.
I'll second that.
Okay, it was motioned by Mr. Buckles that we adopt policy number 7440.01, video surveillance and electronic monitoring, and it was seconded by Mrs. Jane Crawford. All in favor, let it be known by aye. Aye. Opposers, hearing none, motion carries 5-0.
Madam Chair, I'd like to recommend that we adopt the policy 0124, standards of ethical conduct by the board.
Second it.
That's amendment.
Okay, All right, and is it necessary, Mr. Attorney, that we say amendment as opposed to
Pickens
adoption?
did say adoption, so if you wouldn't mind just re-saying that. say
Okay.
it in
Yeah,
that copy.
just so, for the record.
That we accept the amendment to policy 0124, standards of ethical conduct.
I second it again.
All right, it was motioned by Mrs. Holly Pickens that we accept amendment to policy number 0124, standards of ethical conduct, and second by Mr. Bud McInnes. All in favor, let it be known by aye. Aye. Opposes, hearing none, motion carries 5-0.
I make a motion that we accept amendment to policy 1210, nope, skip one. 1130, appointment, assignment, transfer, and promotion of
I
administrators.
second that motion.
Okay, it was motioned by Mrs. Jane Crawford that we accept amendment to policy number 1130, appointment, assignment, transfer, and promotion of administrators, and second by Mr. David Buckles. All in favor, let it be known by aye. Aye. Opposes, hearing none, motion carries 5-0.
Make a motion, we accept amendment to policy number 1210, standards of ethical conduct.
I second.
administrators.
Get a second.
Motion by Mr. Bud McInnes that we accept amendment to policy number 1210, standards of ethical conduct for administrators, and second by Mrs. Holly Pickens. All in favor, let it be known by aye. Aye. Opposes, hearing none, motion carries 5-0.
Madam Chair, I'd like to make a motion that we accept the amendment to policy number 1242, professional development for administrators.
I'll second that.
All right, motion by Mr. Buckles that we accept amendment to policy number 1242, professional development for administrators, and second by Mrs. Jane Crawford. All in favor, let it be known by aye. Aye. Opposes, hearing none, motion carries 5-0.
Madam Chair, I'd like to make the motion that we accept the amendment to policy 3130, appointment, assignment, transfer, promotion of instructional staff.
I second that.
All right, it is motion by Mrs. Holly Pickens that we accept amendment to policy number 3130, appointment, assignment, transfer, and promotion of instructional staff, and second by Mr. David Buckles. All in favor, let it be known by aye. Aye. Opposes, hearing none, motion carries 5-0.
Madam Chairman, I'd like to make a motion that we accept amendment of policy 3220, evaluation of instructional personnel.
Second it.
Okay.
All right, motion by Mrs. Jane Crawford that we accept amendment to policy 3220, evaluation of instructional personnel, and second by Mr. Bud McInnes. All in favor, let it be known by aye. Aye. Opposes, hearing none, motion carries 5-0.
Make a motion to accept amendment to policy number 3242, professional development, instructional staff.
I second that.
Okay, it's been motioned by Mr. Bud McInnes that we accept amendment to policy number 3242, professional development, instructional staff, and second by Mr. David Buckles. All in favor, let it be known by aye. Aye. Opposes, hearing none, motion carries 5-0.
Madam Chairman, I propose that we accept the amendment to policy number 3242, professional.
No, we just did that.
Amendment to
Did that.
policy 410, I propose that we accept the amendment to policy 4130, appointments, assignment, transfer, and promotion of support staff.
I second.
All right, motion by Mr. David Buckles that we accept amendment to policy number 4130, appointment, assignment, transfer, and promotion of support staff, and second by Mrs. Holly Pickens. All in favor, let it be known by the word aye. Aye. Opposes, hearing none, motion carries 5-0.
Madam Chairman, I make a motion to accept amendment to policy 4162, drug and alcohol testing of CDL license holders and other employees who perform safety-sensitive functions.
I second.
Motion by Mrs. Jane Crawford that we accept amendment to policy number 4162, drug and alcohol testing of CDL license holders and other employees who perform safety-sensitive functions, and it was second by Mrs. Holly Pickens. All in favor, let it be known by aye. Aye. Opposes, hearing none, motion carries 5-0.
Make a motion to accept amendment to policy number 4242, professional development, support staff.
I second that.
All right, motion by Mr. Bud McInnes that we accept amendment to policy number 4242, professional development for support staff, and second by Mr. David Buckles. All in favor, let it be known by aye. Aye. Opposers, hearing none, motion carries 5-0.
Madam Chairman, I propose we accept the amendment to policy number 5540, the schools and investigations involving students.
I second. Go ahead.
Okay. So, okay. All right, it was motion by Mr. Buckles that we accept amendment to policy number 5540, the schools and investigations involving students, and second by Mrs. Holly Pickens. All in favor, let it be known by aye. Aye. Opposers, hearing none, motion carries 5-0.
I'd like to make a motion that we accept the amendment to policy 6325, procurement, federal grants and funds.
I'll second that.
Motion by Mrs. Holly Pickens that we accept amendment to policy number 6325, procurements, federal grants and funds, and second by Mrs. Jane Crawford. All in favor, let it be known by aye. Aye. Opposers, hearing none, motion carries 5-0.
Make a motion that we accept amendment to policy number 6480, expenditures.
I second.
All right, motion by Mr. Bud McInnes that we accept amendment to policy number 6480, expenditures, and second by Mrs. Holly Pickens. All in favor, let it be known by aye. Aye. Opposers, hearing none, motion carries 5-0.
Madam
Go
Chair,
ahead.
I'd like to make a motion to accept the amendment to policy number 6550, travel and per diem.
I'll second that.
Motion by Mr. David Buckles that we accept amendment to policy number 6550, travel and per diem, and second by Mrs. Jane Crawford. All in favor, let it be known by aye. Aye. Opposers, hearing none, motion carries.
Sorry.
Okay, all right. Motion carries 5-0.
I would
Madam
think-
Chairman, I make a motion that we accept the amendment to policy 6605, crowdfunding.
I'll second.
All right, it's been motioned by Mrs. Jane Crawford that we accept amendment to policy number 6605, crowdfunding, and second by Mrs. Holly Pickens. All in favor, let it be known by aye. Aye. Opposers, hearing none, motion carries 5-0.
Make a motion to accept amendment to policy number 6830, external financial audits.
Madam Chairman, I'd like to make a second to that motion.
Okay, all right. It's been motioned
And seconded.
Make a second to
by Mr. Bud McInnes to accept policy number 6830, external financial audits, and second by Mr. David Buckles. All in favor, let it be known by aye. Aye. Opposers, hearing none, motion carries.
Madam
5-0.
Chairman, I'd like to propose an amendment to policy number 8141, mandatory reporting of misconduct.
I'll second.
All right, it's been motioned by Mr. David Buckles that we accept amendment to policy number 8141, mandatory reporting of misconduct, and second by Mrs. Holly Pickens. All in favor, let it be known by aye. Aye. Opposers, hearing none, motion carries 5-0.
Madam Chairman, I would like to make a motion to accept the amendment to policy 8431, preparedness for toxic hazard and asbestos hazard.
Second it?
All right, it's been motioned by Mrs. Jane Crawford to accept policy number 8431, preparedness for toxic hazard and asbestos hazard, and second by Mr. Bud McInnes. All in favor, let it be known by aye. Aye. Opposers, hearing none, motion carries 5-0.
Make a motion to accept amendment to policy number 9200, volunteers.
I second that.
All right, it's been motioned by Mr. Bud McInnes that we accept amendment to policy number 9200, volunteers, and second by Mr. David Buckles. All in favor, let it be known by aye. Aye. Opposers, hearing none, motion carries 5-0.
Madam Chair, I'd like to make a motion that we accept the amendment to policy number 9211, parent organizations, booster clubs, and other community organizations.
I second.
All right, it's been motioned by Mr. David Buckles that we accept amendment to policy number 9211, parent organizations, booster clubs, and other community organizations, and second by Mrs. Holly Pickens. All in favor, let it be known by the word aye. Aye. Opposers, hearing none, motion carries 5-0. Whew.
There'll be more.
All righty. At this time, we will ask, do we have any, all right, we do not have any comment cards for anyone to address the board. So we will move into our consent agenda. Mrs. Crawford, we will start with you and move to your left.
I have nothing to pull. I had all my questions answered prior to the meeting.
I have nothing to pull either.
Okay, I just wanted to ask anyone about H8, the contract with Balance Boutique, and I do see Mr. Theobald, and then when we call you up, you can just explain it from, I've read some of it, and I think it's gonna be a good thing, but I wanna hear it from you. Okay, all right, thank you, sir. So I have pulled H8, okay? Mr. Buckles?
Madam Chair, I have met with the superintendent and been over the agenda, and I feel comfortable with what I've seen.
Thank you, sir. Mrs. Pickens?
I have nothing. I've had a lot of questions answered today.
Okay.
I'd like to
All right.
make a motion that we approve the consent agenda minus H8.
I'll second that.
All right, it's been motioned by Mr. David Buckles that we accept the consent agenda minus H8, and it was seconded by Mrs. Jane Crawford. All in favor, let it be known by aye. 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 Opposers, hearing none, motion carries 5-0. H8, and while you make your way up, I want to apologize. I've been out of pocket church stuff this morning, because otherwise I would have gotten with you, and I do apologize. Just talk to me about it.
Yes, ma'am.
They need to join.
Out at QI Roberts, we have about 575 students. The academic press is intense, and we have students that have a lot of anxiety and trouble kind of coping with both the anxiety of class and just being a teenager. We have one school counselor. That school counselor is being asked to do a lot of different things. Certainly, we have 6th grade levels, so there's everything from 7th graders just dealing with adolescents all the way up to seniors needing letters of recommendation. She needs assistance. She needs help, and I know somebody that can help her. And I think that would be helpful for our students.
I appreciate hearing that, because I do know of a couple of cases years back. And so saying that this is in place for those students, because it's rigorous, the things that, and to hear all of the certificates they walk out of there with, hey, so great. I appreciate that.
And I
Go
just
ahead,
wanted
ma'am.
to say, I can't think of anyone more qualified than Jamila. As a former counselor, I still regret that she left our system, but to be a help to the counselor and a help to these students who deal on a daily basis with the requirements of the Cambridge program. I have friends who have children, and I know how stressful it can be, and she knows how to deal with that stress and that anxiety.
Absolutely. We have a lot of students who will be first-generation college students, and they have all the academic ability to go on to incredible places. And she also has experience with doing that, being the first in her family to push on and go to
And that
an elite
transition,
college.
too.
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely.
I'd sure like to see you do that country western dance you did for the kids.
Play the music. Let's do it.
I was really impressed, surprised and impressed.
Kids loved it. I thought it was wonderful, Joe. Thank you.
Yes, absolutely.
What,
Thank
you
you,
did
Joe.
river dancing or something?
No, he was more
not yet.
like,
He's trying to copy Travis Weaver,
Okay.
you know.
Any
Thank you so much. No, sir. I'd like to offer, make a motion that we accept item number H8 that was pulled from the agenda.
I'll second that.
can you make a motion?
I don't know. I don't think so, but
I'll
I can make
it.
them.
I would
you're
like to
gonna
make a
it for me.
motion
Okay.
that we accept and approve item H8 on the consent agenda.
Yeah, I second that.
Okay, Mrs. Crawford motioned that we accept and approve item number H8 from the agenda, and it was seconded by Mr. David Buckles. All in favor, let it be known by the word aye. Aye. Opposers, hearing none, motion carries 5-0. Thank you so much.
When you were saying it, didn't you?
Yes, I said, now, how am I
am I
gonna do
doing
this? Okay. All righty. Let me catch up with myself. Okay, here we are. At this time, we will move into emergency session.
Madam Chair, I went over the recommendation from the Insurance Committee and spent quite a bit of time this afternoon looking at it, and I had an opportunity to talk to Ms. Odom. And the options, this is certainly a nice proposal. I think right now the problem is as bad as we're trying to get this resolved, we're probably going to need to know, stay maybe where we are with the original, the bid we had from Blue Cross until they can go back into conference and, in other words, and talk about some of these dollar figures in a bargaining setting. I've talked to several people about it, and I don't think anybody on this board doesn't want to find a way to make it more palatable, to draw the healthier people to certain plans and find ways to do that. But until we can really do it, we're going to have to give Ms. Odom just a little more time to figure out how much money there is. And I wouldn't say this if I haven't seen this in past years, a long time ago, but I mean, these are certainly great choices, but I really think we need to be prepared to answer with real finance than just say we're going to guess, because there's no way to know if 100 or 200 people are going to migrate from one of these plans to another plan, and we don't know the financial cost. So we're going to need Mr. Boland to meet with Mr. Modell and the staff to, once Ms. Odom can get an idea of where we are. And I don't know how long that's going to take, Mr. Superintendent. But I mean, the rest of you guys can speak up, but
No, I agree.
that was my first concern today, and I have discussed with different people that have called, and you know, nobody up here wants any ill for anyone, any of our employees. We want to make it more palatable and the most palatable that we can, but we can't do it until we know the numbers and where we are. So now you guys can debate that however you want, but go ahead.
Well, I think that Mr. Burnett, I think he should come up and
That's fine.
at least talk about this.
I may have gotten the cart before the horse, and I'm sorry, but
It's okay, Mr. Buckles.
been thinking about it.
Andy Burnett, Insurance Committee Chair. Last time we met, y'all had approved that our carrier would be Blue Cross and Blue Shield. And then, we went back and looked at the plans to make some recommendations. I know you have them in front of you, looked at them, but I'll just kind of recap them for all of you. We made, point one, the committee made two recommendations as far as the choice of plans.
Where is it?
Option one being plans B and E. Option two being plans C, D, and E. That's the plans that we have currently. And the second point, which you spoke to, Mr. Buckles, was the tiered options for different subsidies for the different plans.
Correct.
Three spoke about subsidies for the retirees. And four was about wellness coordinator supplements that we presently already give to our wellness coordinators at the school. And Mr. Buckles, I do hear what you're saying, but I will say this, there is one time crunch that is essential because, and Tammy, you could probably speak to it more, but we talked about making sure getting open enrollment started in an appropriate time so employees could participate. And Blue Cross and Blue Shield, once they know which option of plans you want, they can start getting with our people and populating the databases and making it where we can transition over smoothly.
Well, yeah, and what I need to find out, and my concern is that Ms. Odom needs some time type of data
Yeah.
to give us an idea of what is the best we can possibly do to meet the employees' needs.
And that we don't bankrupt that insurance fund.
Yes, ma'am.
And yet that we do.
Rhonda, can you come up and address that?
I know I sound as clear as Rice Creek, but it really.
Yeah, it was a little,
You're a little weird.
I figured
When we
out what
talked
you were saying.
earlier today, you asked what it would cost for these 3 subsidies, and they increased the tiers for option 2, and I told you with not knowing where people would move, I couldn't give you an exact answer. And I did say, if everyone stayed exactly where they are right now, I could give you what that cost would be. And that was $247,250. So that's your lowest cost. And the maximum cost is if everybody decided to go down to Plan E, it would double the cost of the entire amount. Currently, we're paying $75 per month for 915 people that are on our plans, and that's an annual cost from the group insurance fund of $686,250. So if we go with a maximum cost, that would be everybody moving to Plan E, which would double from $75 to $150 a month. So it'd be $1,372,500, which is an increase of $686,250. So I can give you a range, is what I can give you.
Well,
I
and
can't tell
this
you
is-
exacts until we know where people move
And
to.
my concern is with Andy and the committee is we need to figure out a way to know the migration as rapidly as possible. And I'm kind of like, we've had these
No
dollar
way to know
amounts
it till they
proposed.
sign up
and
for it.
But I understand that. I just don't know how to go about doing that. And that's what I'm looking for here through Andy and Mark and Thomas. How do we figure out a way of identifying this? So if let's say we had $1 million we could put to it, I mean, pie in the sky, then we'd want to try to figure out some way to get the help to the people. But if
I don't know why they just.
if we only put,
Other plan.
if we put 200,000 and then it nobody migrates and we have more money, it kind of, it's a little, well, not a little, it's a big difference. And I'd like to also send it back with these dollar amounts proposed, because I think that needs to be a more appropriate, bargaining climate than just bringing it to the board to ask for money. Let us.
And that makes sense. And like Mr. Burnett said, time is essential. The big thing about the money is people need to know how much it costs so they'll know how to make an informed decision of which plan they want to go
Right.
to. So I would think whatever we did, we would need to do it in a hurry. We could certainly have an executive session and then talk about all the available options. What kind of jumps off the page at you is just a set rate that, if whatever it is, like right now it's 75. If you did 75 again, or if you did 50 again, or if you did 150 again, you would know exactly how much it would cost. The tiered approach is to drive behavior, to steer in a certain direction, but of course, that's the board's decision. That's the recommendation right now from the insurance committee, but once again, it's your decision to make. I would recommend that whatever we decide to do, though, we do it in a hurry. I don't know well, we need to move quickly. And I think I have one question, which is, well, we need to settle on plans. We need to have either D&E or CD&E, or Florida Blue won't know how to set us up. And that's the essential thing here today to move forward. So I don't know if you can just pull one thing to vote on, or if it's necessary to vote at all. Because the plans that we currently have are C, D, and E, so.
And that's what it needs to stay. But here, Charlie,
Even though this is put under the emergency section, I think it's best to come back to another meeting, a special meeting, to take up this matter once it's been properly noticed, because this letter did not come until this morning. It was not attached to the agenda until this morning. So I would not advise the board to vote on anything at this particular stage.
Even
All the
as an emergency.
Even as an emergency.
And so how,
just gonna delay
how
us.
long are we looking at to advertise, Mr. Attorney?
Well, if you had a special meeting, the statutes require around 48 hours.
I just want
So we're
Ms.
looking
Odom to
at,
have time
so we're
to,
looking at
get her-
either Thursday or Friday, 48 hours tomorrow, Thursday. So it would have to be Friday. It'd be a true 48, wouldn't it?
Or if you wanted to go into next week, if you want to do,
No.
No, we need to get it.
No, let's,
Tuesday's open.
I would prefer getting it done.
We need to get it done before the 13th.
I would prefer, if at all possible, for us
Rhonda,
to.
excuse me, Rhonda, did you say
I
something?
prefer to
that-
do it Thursday if we
Talking to
could.
Andy?
Timing and everything that, you know, I can't give you a total figure until after open enrollment.
Right. We
Got
know
to
that.
know, well, that's something
That's
that
why we
that's
don't need to
something that
vote
we
on
need
that.
to get with
And that's why we're saying we're not.
Andy or
No, he's
Thomas
not
and
gonna
Mark.
have any of it.
If we knew, then we would have, of course, I guess you can't know, you know.
I mean, as committee chair, I'd speak for the committee. I mean, if the board wants to set up another meeting to talk about this, we certainly would do it.
Well, I don't
Well,
know
I
that
mean,
that's the
and
intent.
to me, the most important is deciding on the plans. And if we can't vote on the plans today, then we need to vote on them as soon as we possibly can, that, you know, legally.
Well, here's,
The other, I'm not as concerned about.
the next question I have is if it's not gonna give Rhonda any more additional information, I need to get clear on that.
Well, I think the most important thing is that we give Florida Blue enough time
Right.
to get
The plans.
what we our Excel and their Excel put together so that we can do open enrollment and.
Starting the 13th.
Right, and so that's what's critical, is giving them the amount of time to get it done right. It's already hurried.
Yeah. So when's the 48 hours exactly?
We could do it. He said we could have a meeting on Friday afternoon.
We can't do it
That's what I was
Thursday?
saying.
Because I'm not going to be here Friday.
To be a true
Thursday's not
48.
gonna be adequate
It
time,
won't
is that
be
correct?
Well,
48.
Friday morning then,
Yeah, we can do it Friday morning.
because I'm not going to be here Friday afternoon. As
And
early
Friday
as we can
afternoon,
do
I
it.
got
We'll-
church, I gotta
we'll-
get back and.
we'll
tidy
still
up
have
and
a
pass it.
majority
We
if
can
we
do
do
it
it.
10.
Yeah, but I want to vote.
Would 10 be too?
10 o'clock Friday.
Too
be-
rough.
Can we do it at 9?
Wednesday, that should be,
Friday at 9 a.m.? Is that okay with y'all?
Yes.
I don't care.
Friday at 9?
I just want to get it right and
Okay.
get
As long
us-
as that's
Okay.
the
figure out
legal.
how to help as many people as we can help.
Well, yeah, we're doing it. Special meeting.
Wednesday, Thursday.
Thursday or Friday?
Friday, for real, yeah.
The real 48.
Executive session before then, whether it's the day before or the day of, I think, we need to go into executive session.
Okay.
So could we have an executive session at 9 and then follow with the board meeting
At 10.
at 10?
I'm not going to probably be here then.
Or have the executive session at 8 and then board meeting at 9? Would that be more workable for everybody?
Fine with me.
Is that okay?
Is all right with you, Holly?
Change the dog schedule.
Well, Mark's up here. I just want you to understand that we're trying to make it better, not worse.
And I need you guys to understand the urgency of settling these dollar amounts as well, because when folks go into open enrollment, if they don't know what the actual cost of the employee will be of each of these plans, then they won't be able to make the right decisions.
I got you.
And this is what happened the last time. We didn't get that finalized until after enrollment started. They didn't know about the additional contribution from the board, and they didn't pick up Plan E like we had hoped they would. If we don't have those dollar amounts settled prior to that, then folks won't know what plan to pick. And we may lose folks. The danger in not increasing these amounts on plans D and E is that we will lose folks from the plan altogether. We've lost more than 200 members on the insurance plan over the last several years. We're in the death spiral, and you guys know it. We've told
I
you
know we're in the
before,
death
okay?
spiral.
But we're there. And if we don't correct this, we're going to keep losing the healthy folks, and then the claims go up because it's not the healthy folks that are staying on. Or, you
I'm
know.
with you on that. I'm just trying to figure out how to,
There's no way for us to predict the cost because we have no idea how people will migrate. As an insurance committee, we feel strongly that we won't see a huge migration to E no matter how much we put on there because people like Jane or, people like their PPO plan. They like
Yeah,
their
I
copays, they
mean, I
like
will
Plan C.
never vote to get rid
We-
of C.
I think that's short-sighted because I think that's
I'm
the industry.
sorry,
is,
that's
you know,
just the way it
The
is.
insurance industry is moving away from those rich
Well,
plans like
as-
that.
But as long as it's there, I'm gonna vote for it.
Okay. But if that's the will of
got
the
too
board
many
to keep Plan
problems.
C, then these increased subsidies, you know, Plan C is driving our claims. Plans D and E, every year, the folks that are on Plan D and E are getting shafted because their premiums are going up because the whole plan gets a rate, even though it's Plan C driving the claims. This is an attempt to kind of even that out a bit and ease the pain for the folks on Plans D and E that are using their insurance and being more cost conscious because it's their dollar first.
So you know we have the money to do this.
The money's in the insurance reserve fund. We, you know, based on where the folks are now, yes.
And we can pretty much give you a complete cost if it was a set dollar amount for all plans or whatever, all people, because we know how many employees we currently have. So we could do the math and tell you what the cost is going to be. This current year, we did a subsidy, and it was that way. It was $75 per month per person, no matter what plan. We knew what the cost was going to be. So the insurance fund absorbed that cost of $686,000, but it still increased at year end because we have a lot of people who are not on any of our plans, and their funds go into to that also.
Right.
So right now, that fund is sitting at $2.7 million. But if you don't vote on things today, you know, if we knew the route the board was going, because what Blue Cross and Blue Shield told us, for them to start building what they need to know if it's just Plan D and E, or they need to know if it's C, D, and E. They care nothing about our subsidy amounts, the cost, retirees, or anything like that. They just need to set up and start building those different plans into their
And would
Excel
Friday,
spreadsheets.
would Friday more or less put
Choice.
them behind the 8 ball, so to speak, for
Is it,
lack of a
Rhonda, is it
better?
not gonna be?
Every day.
Short answer is yes.
It
Yeah,
would
every
put
day
them
that we-
behind
All
because
right,
they're already
would it not
behind,
be
and
of
we've shortened
any-
open
Any
enrollment.
benefit to you to postpone it without a vote? Would it be of any benefit? I
What's
mean,
that
I'm not-
mean?
I mean, to just go ahead and say, let's pick one of these and go on with it.
I mean, my answer on Friday will still be, I don't know. I mean, we can have some executive sessions and talk about dollars and see how you all want to go and how much you're willing to invest, because I can give you the,
We won't-
you know, the maximum cost, and I can give you, you know, the minimum cost on what these plans are and everything. If we could, you know, at least choose the plans and
Today.
on Friday,
Oh.
you know, if we have an executive session,
Hash out
then you hash out the dollar
But-
amounts and
But what I
everything.
understand Mark saying is that we have to know about the subsidy before we start open enrollment.
Yes, and
Because
open enrollment
that's
is being
gonna drive
proposed.
decisions.
And in your timeline, meeting again on Friday would work with that, because open enrollment's not till 11/13.
And we've got to give people on Plan C, and if retirees are an issue, we've got to give them adequate notice, at least if they have to come in and make a comment or whatever, we got to make sure we
You
give
would
them,
have to, we would
give
have
them the
to
opportunity to
probably,
voice their concern. You know, there's a
probably-
large group of those.
So
people.
you're saying we
At the
can't vote
steps.
on the plan today?
you could.
I do not recommend that.
Yeah, our legal counsel suggested not just because we haven't had adequate notice for those people, so.
I see it,
But I thought that's what an emergency.
I see it being a problem, and I do it with having many relatives that have insurance in the district. I mean, I understand the pain you guys are going through, but it is out of an abundance of caution that we can do as much financially as we can and try to meet the needs of you guys. So I would make a motion that we wait until
And take everything to
Friday. And
Eight.
And there's no obligation to make any vote whatsoever on this recommendation
You don't have
today.
to make a motion.
I don't have to make, well, I withdraw that motion, but I just we just got a lot of things that I just see that may be potential roadblocks. And it's not that it's all gonna miraculously change for Ms. Odom, but when we get to Friday and we make a selection, we've had time to hear from all the people that are sending us stuff on Facebook and emails and trying to get through this. And,
I don't want to know how they knew about it before we did.
well,
It's crazy.
everything travels in 5 minutes in the school district from Melrose to Crescent City. It's not very hard. But I think it's good, good proposal and options, but the goal here is to protect the school district at the same time and help the employees to the best of our ability. And I would suggest that's just me. You guys do whatever you want to do. I don't know how you do that.
Well, I think today, as opposed to Fridays, at least gives people more time to weigh in on it, give you some input. And I don't think as far as, Friday's not gonna make any difference as far as knowing what the amounts are and all that. But I think we just want to give them notice so they can come to the meeting or contact board members to give them input.
I did get my life threatened when I walked in the building by somebody that's going to retire, but it was a joke threat. I mean, I get it.
Because there's no way to know, like, say, when we meet Friday, to know what the deductibles are on these plans or any of that kind of thing?
Well, the deductibles are the same. That's all the same.
Okay.
Yeah,
I didn't know if anything had changed.
There's no time for any plan design change when we met with Blue Cross yesterday.
Just subsidy
Well, see, we
There's
didn't
no
know
way,
that.
there's no way to make any changes at this point. It's just too close.
Yeah.
We're in the time crunch because of reissuing the RFP, so we don't have any time to do that. So we had to kind of go with the plans as were
Okay.
proposed.
So my question is, does that, I mean, maybe Florida Blue could answer the question, does that give them enough time? I mean, I don't want to do anything so does that that takes 2 more, 3
Richard, can you answer
more
that?
days?
I can't speak for Florida Blue, but any project building out.
Richard, can you come up? You mind coming up and speaking to that, just so we can get it on recording? Thank you for doing that.
Lucky Richard.
If you would just say who you are and who you represent, just so.
Richard Frederick, representing Bates Hewitt and Floyd Insurance, the agency. So I was in the meeting with the insurance committee yesterday and with Andy Carroll from Florida Blue representative, as well as field representatives, both for medical and dental. The concept is that they can't install programs in their computer until they have the vote of the board. Because until then, everything is subject to change.
Right.
Now, in theory, if you put it off 3 days, then your end date is going to be 3 days later. I agree with Mr. Modell that it's not of any help to your employees to decide on the plans until you know what the board's contribution is going to be, because they can't make a valid decision about what's best for them and their families. So the sooner you can wrap it up, the better. Florida Blue will deal with whatever time frame they're given. So if they're 3 days late in furnishing the built-out plans, then they'll be 3 days late. Does that answer your question?
Rhonda or Tammy, could y'all address kind of the flexibility in our timelines? What, 3 days?
Well, I think it'll just change open enrollment, and open enrollment would probably end 3 days later, 12/5, and it'll be depending on how much Tammy has to do versus how much
Blue Cross said
Blue Cross.
Tammy, can you come up and address that, please?
Blue Cross said they needed enrollment done by December 1st, or the 2nd, the business date, so that they could make sure everything was done for our folks to get insurance cards by January.
The main thing is getting the insurance cards, because there is, there'll have to be new RX prescriptions and everything done. That question was asked yesterday, whether people that had ongoing prescriptions could just flow into the system, and Andy said no. Correct me if I misspeak, but Andy said no, people would have to get new prescriptions, and
Oh, Lord.
they're gonna want their cards January 1.
If not sooner. You're gonna get dental, new cards there, prescriptions. If you have a special prescription that you have to have from your doctors with a note, they've got to do that. So if you have a special prescription with your doctor, and you have to get a note from your doctor and get with Blue Cross Blue Shield to get prescriptions. If you're a diabetic, your insulin, you can't do without. So, and if it's anything past the 2nd of December, they're not guaranteeing cards.
So if we had the meeting on Friday, where does that put us?
It would,
Approximately 12/5, ending open enrollment on 12/5. Approximately.
It's Thursday afternoon.
they're not starting open enrollment until 11/13, so that was giving us, yeah.
So
Could they
the answer to the question is that it's possible that it could still be done. The promise to the insurance committee and to the school district was that if they could get the information by the 1st of December, they promised it would be done. And I'm sure all involved will do their best to achieve that. But once again, I speak for the agency, I can't speak for Florida Blue, so I can't promise that it will be done. That's the promise the committee had yesterday, was that if the board decided today that it would be done in time.
Yeah. Well, again, we have concerns, and I understand that totally, but the concerns are adequate notice, and we have a large group of people that, you know, need to have an opportunity to voice their concern. I mean, I think the board would agree, we definitely need to make sure we give people the opportunity to, you know, give you input on that, because that's a big vote.
Rick, my next concern is with the subsidies that we provide being given to us in an emergency session, it really needs to go back to committee and be bargained, doesn't it? Thomas, am I wrong or am I right? If it's compensation of some type.
It's compensation, but it's an insurance subsidy, so it's a little bit different. And you guys, I think, raised the subsidy in midstream last year. So I don't think it's anything wrong with you doing it. It's always a better idea to have a closed executive session and then get fully informed on exactly where we stand financially before you make such decisions. But technically, I think you could do it.
That would have to be like a letter of agreement or.
Mark, you want to weigh in on that?
An MOU.
MOU, that, I got you.
The format we've used for the insurance subsidies the last couple of
I
years.
got you. All right.
Yeah, it's that way.
Well, my biggest concern is trying to figure out a way to do as much as we can do, but
And stay in the confines
And
of the law.
stay
what-
stay within the confines of
So do I understand we're going to schedule executive session at 8 o'clock Friday and special board meeting at 9 o'clock?
Yes, sir.
And we will advertise that ASAP.
And we
if that's
will
the
walk
wishes
out
of the board.
with the decision.
and that's
Boom.
based on the advice of our council.
Right.
Yes.
Is that would be
And
adequate
to-
time?
To help the superintendent and Sharon as they're drafting the agenda, you're anticipating a vote on each one of these numbers in the letter, is that correct?
Mr. Douglas, it's purely a recommendation to the board. You know, they are the board. We serve at their behest. They could literally take all of this or leave it, you know.
On individual.
Well,
I'm
I think the
really
reason that we're hemming and hawing is
We'll get
because
this
we
in,
want
but
to
don't have
find out
it.
exactly how
The agenda.
much we can
Yes, sir.
do to help the employees. It's not intended to throw a monkey wrench in
No,
the
absolutely
And you
not.
didn't.
process.
I think you know, we could look at those numbers again and try to come to a decision on Friday, or
Well,
y'all can on where you want to go.
We will.
We will.
With our advice, you know, from
Friday,
what we
most
know about
definitely.
this.
Y'all just, Thomas, you and Mark and the group get together and we'll have,
We'll meet you here Friday morning.
we'll be here Friday. I guess the teachers on the insurance committee and people that want to attend should be able to find a way to get here, Rick. Is there a way to do that, you think?
I can't speak, that's individual school decision, and I
Principal
can't
could
guarantee
cover,
that.
it
but-
depends on what they're.
But at least that'll give them time to contact each of you or whoever they need to contact to give you input.
Yeah, whoever.
Certainly within the district's power to grant those folks TDU to be here for that meeting.
Well, I would want to do that, if that is possible, but I don't know what the principals have planned.
I can't guarantee that, that'd be a lot of people, possibly.
The insurance committee is 8 people.
To do what?
Oh, you talking about committee or?
Committee.
Yes,
I thought you were talking about everybody that's on.
No.
Yeah, committee, yeah, that's not a problem. I misunderstood what you were asking.
So Mark,
So
they would-
definitely
they would
TDE.
have.
Yeah, I think we can
TDE.
cover that, yeah.
Okay, that's what I
I was
think we
thinking
need.
about that number too. I
Yeah.
was saying, they're not gonna be able to find subs.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I was thinking of the bigger number, sorry.
Yeah.
I don't have all the,
committee's here, yes.
Yes, sir, that.
You know, and I'd like to walk out of here today and be done with it, but it's just not, unless,
And I get that, and so do we. We've been working hard, but we want to make a good decision and what's right for the employees. So if y'all want to sit down again, we'll be more than happy to sit down with you.
and that
figure it
doesn't
out.
mean that even if we come to a good resolution Friday that's somewhere midstream, we might have gained financially and can do even more. So
Yes, sir.
that's the point of all this.
Yes, sir, it is.
Okey-doke.
Thank you, Andy.
And one fine, well, I can ask this on Friday. I can say mine to Friday.
So we don't need a motion, Charlie, on that?
No, sir.
Okay? All right, the next item, we're now out of emergency session. We're back into our regular session. Item M, discussion of unfinished business, discussion and input on Putnam Edge monitoring items. Mr. Swift, if you would come up. And we have our packets you
Yes,
provided.
yes, ma'am.
And I printed mine out. Yeah.
So I provided a report with the additional monitoring, clarification and questions of our application, our charter application, along with a detailed explanation and actions to what we're going to be doing under those subsections, and also all the other items that you guys requested of us.
Yes, sir.
Based on what you have, do you want me to just go through each article, or do you guys want to pose questions to the information that was provided?
Well, I would
I
just like
went-
to say this is a
I
whole
went
lot of
through,
work.
I
Appreciate
went
it.
through it on the
Online.
agenda
I did
online.
too.
So if it pleases the board, most definitely just answer the questions, the concerns that we had, and you can point us to it and run through it as opposed to going page by page, because, yes, sir.
So the presentation includes the items, for the most important part of the items, 6, 7, and 9 subsections that needed more clarification. So what we did, we looked at our application, we looked at our charter application, our charter contract, and we pulled off what we say that we're going to do, and looked at what we're not doing in conjunction to what the requirements say. So what I did was I provided the subsections 1.2.3, providing parents with sufficient information on whether whether their child is reading at grade level and whether the child is gaining at least a year worth of learning for each year spent in a charter school. And the reason why I pulled that one, because obviously with the transition from where we were in leadership, that was an area that needed to be the most focus on, and pulling back in that parental engagement. And so our specific actions to that for that particular category will be to students' records will be monitored by the school staff, and this process will be an ongoing process because we are doing the progress monitoring. We're utilizing Renaissance Learning to be able to track our students on a month-to-month basis. We're pulling in the parents on a month-to-month basis and having that discussion with our early warning students that have 2 or more indicators, as well as students that are in the red for intense intervention and support. And so when we look at increasing learning opportunities, I provided a detailed specific action step for our Tier 1, Tier 2, and Tier 3 supports in terms of remediating all students that fall into that early warning signs of intense support. And so when you look at those reports, those students that are identified in those red categories, these are the actual steps that we're taking to address their academic needs. I did provide to you guys a brief history on the charter so that you can see where, from the conception of the charter in terms of where we started out at and to where we are today. If you wanted more information, Pat is always willing to speak to that if you needed to, for that to be spoken to. But you have a copy of our master bail schedule, as well as his letter or report from our relationship with UNF, Dr. Olson, and his reports based on his visit and our continued support that he's going to provide to the school during this school improvement process. So you have that report, as well as you did receive the DOE's report in terms of their site visit. And one of the good things about their visit is that they're willing to support us and come back for a second visit to really take the opportunity, look and deep dive our data, and to help us identify our students that needs another level of support so that we can ensure that we can get our school grade not only to a C but a possible B. And so they're coming back out on the 12th of this month to look at our data and to help us action plan and go into a planning session to address those students. So it was really good to have them come out and get the feedback and them to dispel the misconceptions that they had that this wasn't the school, or what they were told about our school wasn't what it was during their visit. And they were just impressed, and overall feedback was positive. And I just thank my staff for the work that they're really doing with the students. And I think Dr. Olson's report after his visit kind of went in conjunction to what the state report was. You have a list of our certified teaching staff that are on board with us, as well as a progress monitoring report for our cohorts and our graduating seniors, and then the levels, the subcategories in which the students have met or need to meet in terms of graduating on time. I also provided some sample data, which is our baseline data from Renaissance Learning, our Star Reading and Star Math assessment that pretty much color-coded our level 1s all the way up to level 5, so that you can see some of where our students' initial assessment data land them. And so you can get more of a glimpse on an ideal level. It's the one that says a screening report.
Which one?
Oh, okay, gotcha. See, it's that
Oh,
one.
yeah.
Okay.
The screening report for the Florida FSA. And this is pretty much based on the benchmarks for FSA in terms of what the students, when they initially took the first assessment. Now, this data is based on their first initial assessment. And so when we assess them this week, going into next week, we'll be able to get a comparison on where they initially was and where they are today in terms of being able to continue to move them and progress them moving forward. I did provide to you guys some individual student data for those students who were identified as our early warning students, so that you can see individually where their some of their progress monitoring data is. And then also with this, we've also set up goals and some targets for those students to achieve by the next time they go in to assess. And so again, that's continually meeting with the parents and the students to really address those areas of opportunity and getting them on board with what we're trying to do for those students. And then I also provided a copy that's highlighted of the students on those early, the students that had one or two or more indicators, so that you can see those individual students. I also provided to you guys our curriculum maps for our core content courses. So you have a packet of that as well for our curriculum, as well as the content that we're teaching in those courses.
Is that what the Apex?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
How many seniors do you have this year?
Right now, we have 23, and we have another one coming back tomorrow.
Okay.
So that's going to change.
And with the indicators, I saw that in your report. Those seniors that you have, the 23, any of them with two or more indicators? Okay, and so we're
Yes.
delving into, okay.
And right now, this month and yesterday, we had meetings with parents, and we actually discussed our seniors yesterday during our staff meeting. And so we're coming up with strategic plans and identifying what is the next step for those seniors, because right now we're dealing with a couple of our seniors who's having truancy issues and then getting them to come to school. So now revisiting with the parents, going into tomorrow, having those meetings again to outline a plan and put them on some form of a contract to address what is the next step for the student. Because if you're having truancy issues, and you're not here on a consistent basis, we have to come up with more of a customized plan for this student.
Are you having luck getting the parents to come in?
Actually, there has been a struggle with quite a few students with their parents getting them to commit to coming into a meeting, but we just have to be. I've had a team that is very supportive about going out into the community and knocking on doors. I mean, I've had an opportunity to go out and go to some homes and really just.
Sometimes you have to.
You just got to do what you got to do to get the parent to be in support and comply to what we're trying to do, and then also to show them that we're working to support your student, but it takes that collective will to this process to do it. And I always tell the parents that if they can't help themselves, what more do you want us to do?
Mr. Swift, at this time, out of those 23, I don't know if you addressed it, how many of those are on track for on-time graduation?
6.
Currently, there's 6?
Yeah, I was gonna ask, without going back through all of this, how many still need to pass FSA? Is it in here?
Yes,
Because
you
I
should
can look
have
at it when I get home.
should
Oh,
have.
yeah, okay.
And on the cohort, it tells you yes or no whether the student had
Okay.
passed the FSA or whether or not they need to pass take an EOC, and it tells you on that report whether or not. And so those indicators for us, obviously, either looking at if they've taken that the FSA or if they just need to take a retake, and looking at those parameters to make sure
Right.
that they sit for those retakes as much as possible.
So those are the kids that are in the intensive reading classes, and
Yes,
I suppose they're getting help with the
absolutely.
math.
And we have things in place for our students with disabilities.
Yes, ma'am.
To help them as well. Yes, sir.
And I know that in the past, we have offered, Ms. French, you might address this, but where we've offered any support as far, especially with those graduates, potential graduates, just to assist to make sure they graduate on time.
Absolutely.
So again, feel free to communicate with our office for any additional support that you might need.
Absolutely. And just to piggyback on that, Ms. Brown has come by. She provided information. She held a small little seminar for our graduating seniors to get them more ramped up about the requirements. And so she's been by and supporting that piece as well.
Good, good.
What class is in place for credit recovery? Like, is it Odyssey?
So Apex also provides credit recovery as well. And so those students who are identified as credit recovery, we're pulling them on mandatory tutoring days and Mondays to get them additional time and getting those additional hours so that they can do the credit recovery for the classes that they've taken in the past, but were not successful with those courses.
Has that been successful? I mean, are they, I mean, I know those.
Successful
Get them to school.
is to get them to commit, even with the academic contract that we established this year just to get the parent. It's still a call, they didn't show up today, what's going on? So it's still a working process to get them to buy into what we're trying to do for the students. And I mean, we had students that didn't show up yesterday. And so we've been on the phone this morning trying to identify what was the problem. And I even had one parent that showed up first thing this morning and tell me that they didn't know that their child didn't attend. And so recommitting to that process.
I do have one other question on the instructional review.
Yes.
It said about grade level tech. Has that been addressed?
Oh, that was addressed right within that week going into our next professional development. And so they wanted to see more rigorous text for the students. They saw it, but when the way the teacher was instructing it, they wanted to see it more in the hands of the student and not the way the teacher actually instructed. They wanted to see the students more engaged with the actual text.
I like the report. I feel encouraged. I read through it a little earlier, and I wish you had more seniors on track for graduation, but I know that you're working on, you want all of them to, so you're doing the best you can. But please, like the superintendent said, check and see if there's anything we can do to help. You need to let us know.
Thank you, sir.
Okay?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes,
There's
sir.
a lot of work involved in getting all this stuff together.
But, hey, It shows you've been testing, and it shows you where the work needs to be.
Yeah, it's very specific.
Okay. Again, thank you so much for your work and the effort put forth. And we had mentioned, before we move on, we had mentioned, if memory serves me correct, that we would periodically come with reports. And I think, Mr. Swift, you mentioned another test date wherein you won't need to bring all of this, but possibly let us see the growth. And certainly those seniors that you mentioned, the 6 we're pleased with, but out of 23, it's, and so if we could monitor those and you could share that with us at our, not the December meeting, that might be too quick, because I don't know when you're testing, January? Okay, all right, and thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you. Oh, my goodness.
Sounds good.
Okay, at this time, we are now in discussion of new business, consensus to advertise new policy number 5330.04, medical marijuana.
Is this where you have to poll us separately?
Yes, we're consensus to advertise. District 1,
Yes, advertise.
District 2,
Advertise.
District 3.
Whoever thought that we would advertise?
District 4.
Advertise.
Advertise. All for it.
But I like the way it's written with that Department of Health registry ID card, and look like they've kind of tried to deter anybody trying to sneak around and get, and then them putting the burden on the school. They themselves will have to take care of it. So I
This
do.
will be rarely used.
Yeah.
Yeah, yes, because they made it so hard. It's not easy
Some
for you
teachers too.
to slip in.
This is for the students. Yeah.
No, teachers will
I was
have to
just
get
kidding.
theirs at home. Okay, and I said advertise, all of us have.
We all advertised.
Yes. Okay,
We good on that, Charlie?
We're good.
all right, so now we move into our reports from the board members. We will start with you, Mrs. Pickens, since we allowed you to pull first on the consent. Ms. Jane?
Well, I've been pretty busy with the insurance committee and.
Thank you.
Thank you so
very
much.
I just want to say that I just observe, and it's really, it's awesome to just see the amount of knowledge that the members have. And truly, I've learned so much from just being involved and watching them. I did have the opportunity to go with the Crescent City Rotary Club to Middleton Burney and hand out dictionaries to the 3rd grade students. And those kids were so excited to get their dictionary, and they offered them in English and also in Spanish to English. And they were just, it was just really nice to see. And one thing that really struck me was how respectful the students were of the Rotarians and the adults, and they asked questions. The Rotary Club talked about scholarships, and we'd been in 2 or 3 rooms, and one little boy raised his hand and he said, "What is a scholarship?" And so, but it was neat. Dr. Cernsey was there, and
I told him to look it up in his dictionary.
yes, yes. It was really, it was a good opportunity. And this afternoon I was at the Rotary Club in Palatka, and they're doing their dictionary distribution this week and next week. So it's a great thing, and it's great to have the partnership with Rotary. Other than that, I just want to get the insurance settled.
Okay. And we vowed to do that on Friday.
Well, I think Friday's about the deadline of doing that. 'cause
it. Doing what?
Dirty deadline.
Resolving the insurance
Oh, yeah.
problem that we've dealt with. I would like to congratulate or thank from the bottom of my heart Sharon Spell and Thomas for Mr. Boland for going down to the Buffalo Bluff area and checking out a bus stop at the railroad tracks that I had a parent, or not a parent, but a citizen call me about kids playing in the railroad and not being near their parked cars where the parents weren't paying attention. And they have worked through that problem. If you're a board member and you have a parent call you with a problem, all you got to do is call either one of those wonderful people back there and they will take care of that situation for you. We're not magic. If people don't call us or tell us what they see and what's going on, we don't know. We don't know everything. So anyway, Sharon, you and Thomas, thank you, and Sharon, keep up the good work with transportation. I appreciate that. And I'd like, I see my great-nephew Stone Thompson. Would you stand up, Stone? Thank you for coming to the school board meeting. Good to see you. All right, I'm done.
Okay. Mr. McInnes?
Okay. Yeah, I want to thank Mr. Pickens for your hard work on the insurance committee.
Yes.
Absolutely, and the committee, what they've done.
But you're there, and we appreciate that.
Yes, because we don't know until you
Yeah.
tell us. So, I want to thank the Imagination Library and the group that's with the, can't even think of their name now.
The Hunger Fight.
Hunger Fight. Last July, I guess I just had this thing to do, and it was the Imagination Library. So it's painstakingly to apply for one because you have to. It's kind of like a small grant, I suppose. And I did it on my little Chromebook, and you have to put in all the zip codes, so you consider all this from Bostwick down to the South End, Crescent City, right? And but thank the Lord that they're here, because it was an undertaking that probably I could not do myself, and it would take a community to do it. But I'm excited for the fact that we have already 25 that have gone through the program. And they just keep it on. 27 that have already graduated, and more to come. So very encouraging. I did have a chance to assist at the Interlochen High School proctoring the PSAT, all right? Was it? That's what it was. PSAT, and had the opportunity to attend the JFG induction and ceremony, which is fantastic. And those kids are going to go somewhere. They're full of energy, and they've got a goal, and it's just so wonderful to see it all come together and work. And I know the superintendent's been clued in with with some safety issues for crossing right there at on 315. It's probably the longest school zone in the county. It's about 7/10 of a mile. But they are doing a field review, and as I came in today, they were actually putting down the counters right there between the middle school and the high school. So hopefully, with the safety in mind, it is a bad area, and I'd hope that when they're planning this on Monday, the 25th, they're encouraging the public to come out to the library at 3:15 to voice your concerns about the mid-block crossing. And I'd hope that we have a piece of property, right, Mr. Superintendent, that the bus compound has future hopes for?
There is one.
Yeah, it's across the street.
There
over
is
there.
one
Yeah.
across
So I hope
315.
that, when this meeting, that they take into account that that's going to be there too, because my vision is going to be different from what I'm sure the DOT or whatever wants to do there, but it has to be safe, and I'm glad that somebody's taking notice to it, and that's it.
Thank you. Mrs. Crawford?
I just have a couple of things. The first thing I'd like to do is thank Travis Weaver and Darla for all the work they did on the school safety report. It was very, very comprehensive. I didn't have a chance to proofread it, but everything I saw was A-okay, Mr. Weaver. So thank y'all for that. I want to take a minute to mention one of a guy, Lee West, Grover Lee West, who worked for Putnam County Schools for many years. A very dear colleague of mine, Mark's, many others, who passed away recently. He
Mine too.
Yours too, absolutely. Everybody that knew him, TT. But he started teaching at Palatka High School, and he didn't just teach. He got involved in everything, and he loved a prom more than anything in the world. He and Gail both. He built more props and sets for prom. He'd dress up, chaperone prom, loved prom. He was also Santa Claus, and Gail, his wife, Mrs. Claus, for many, many years. And I'll never forget, my daughter Connor was concerned because she didn't think Santa Claus knew sign language, and I was telling Lee about it at work one day, and he said, well, just tell her to cut out pictures out of the catalog that she wants and bring them to me. And so that's what we did, and she was so excited that she had a way to tell Santa Claus what she wanted for Christmas. But he was also involved until health didn't allow him to, and with the Sensitive Santa program too. We're really going to miss Lee in Putnam County. He was a great guy. I also had the opportunity to go to the Palatka High School JFG induction, and I'm going to tell you, that was something. It was amazing what they did. Those kids are so excited, and so, they've got some leadership, and they're going to be future leaders because of all their learning in that program. But I just wanted to mention the guest speaker, the keynote speaker at that induction program. His name is Pascal Elliott, and he is the manager of our Home Depot in Palatka. And he is amazing. He's in the wrong field. He needs to go on the motivational speech circuit. If you ever get the chance to be somewhere where he is talking, a first-time college graduate in his family, a former Marine, an entrepreneur. He's just amazing, and he is gung-ho about JFG. And I think he's been a big help to Becky Moats there at Palatka High School. And the last thing I want to mention, and I kind of thought David would, but he's just forgotten, the signs for the John Eubanks Ag Farm are up, and David may want to...
I mentioned it at the last meeting, but go ahead.
Well, I didn't. I only saw the one, and now I saw the other one. I'm sorry. But they're great, and to honor a great man in Putnam County, John Eubanks.
Great guy.
I'm sorry, David, I've forgotten you mentioned.
No, it's okay. I think everybody ought to
drive out there.
Rick will probably have a dedication at some point.
Okay, good. Well, I want to be there.
Okay, real quick, just want to congratulate again Mrs. Sarah Jean McDaniel and Mr. Benford being nominated as Principal and Assistant Principal of the Year. And I, too, concur with Bud and with Jane regarding our Jobs for Florida graduates induction ceremony. Second to none. And one of the key words that when you were trying to describe these young people, it's not an air of arrogance, it's confidence. Mm-hmm. They seemed so confident and sure of themselves. Miss Spell, I did see one of our buses with the orange magnet on back says driver in training, and I was saying yes, as I went past, and he was doing good too. I mean, stayed in his lane, didn't wobble, so that's a great thing,
Stayed in his lane.
Yeah, because I was in a hurry, and I went around.
She was spinning around him.
Thanks to our insurance committee, all the hard work you do. I know at times it may seem like we nitpick, but all we want to do is to just work together and fine-tune until we give the very best product that we possibly can. I, too, have Mr. Weaver mentioned and Dalla again for a thorough job and a report on the district Florida Safe School Assessment Tool to have had them to go through all of that, and for him to know which schools responded in which way, et cetera, it makes me know that he is conscious and cognizant of the safety of our schools, and we appreciate that. To the school improvement, those reports from the schools, even though they, I guess, would be like a template or tailor-made, you could see the specifics that pertained to the different schools and what they were looking for and what their mission statement was. So to Mr. Hankey and to all of our schools, our administrators, job well done. And with that much focus and attention, I know that the end result is going to be great because they're doing what they need to do to monitor. Mr. Attorney?
Okay, so recently was the Florida School Board Attorney Association meeting, and Joy Frank is always a big part of that meeting. Many of you, all of you probably have met Joy by now, and she's retiring at the end of this
What are y'all
legislative
gonna
session.
do?
We will all miss her. She's been a great resource to all the school board attorneys throughout the state. She predicted that school board term limits would be back up this year on the legislative agenda, along with a focus on teacher salaries for this coming legislative session. And also some of the other topics that were discussed were a Juul lawsuit. It goes back to vaping, and the different lung issues that some people faced, and whether school districts would be potentially interested in joining a class action lawsuit with that. So that was kind of on the beginning stages, and more will be heard from that later. Also, there was a charter school in Miami-Dade where the school district or school board voted to revoke the charter based on the charter school not having a school resource officer on site. So it seems like the districts around the state are getting a lot more serious.
Yes.
In light of the Marjorie Stoneman Douglas grand jury that's been convened about the presence of school resource officers on site every single day. And another topic was medical marijuana, which you just considered and agreed to advertise on that. That is an issue now with students who take medical marijuana. And also, there's a discussion about adopting suicide risk policies as a part of board policies. Neola has not done that yet, but that's something that is being considered around the state now. So that's a brief summary of.
I just had one question, and I don't know if Joy talked much about it, but what is the big push? Why the big push for term limits on school board members? Do you know?
I don't know what.
I mean, I
don't
know it
They get
started with that
tired and
Erica
worn out.
Donald's group, but, it's moved on into the legislature and,
They're just trying to do more term limits, and and if the more they can create problems for those who may stand in the way of what
they want to do.
they want to do, they're
Charter
trying to,
school, you
they're
know.
just trying to create problems for the people locally. I
Some
mean,
of the
it's-
same people that wanted the appointed superintendents.
Yeah.
It's not, it's not uncommon to hear them talk about that. I've just heard it for years. Then if they do, they do, whatever.
Yeah. Nothing we can do about it.
My turn?
Yep.
Speaking of Joy Frank, she's
Mr. Superintendent.
she represents the Superintendent Association, and every time we meet, she brings us jelly. She makes jelly on the side, so I anticipate her making probably more jelly now when she retires. So,
Tell her she needs to be a Gator fan when
Yeah.
she.
What kind does she make?
every kind you can imagine. She's
Wow.
phenomenal making jelly. Just a few things. I always like bragging about what our district's doing, but it's always special when you hear someone outside the school district brag on us. And I don't know if you had a chance to read the newspaper article about the recent article about real estate sales over the last 3 or 4 years going up. There's a nice little graph. And so I asked Felicia to actually put together a comparison, and she posted this if you get a chance on our Facebook page, but did a great job comparing the graph of real estate sales and overlaying graduation rates.
Cool.
And they're almost identical in how they're, trending upward.
Mm-hmm.
But again, Leota Wilkinson, who is actually, I believe, head of the local real estate Realtors Association, also works for Bobby Payne.
Right.
She actually commented how the increase in graduation rates has had an impact on local sales.
Yes.
So again, I think that's wonderful because we always talk about trying to partner with our local community. And I just feel very positive that we are working together to make our community stronger, you know, and that's the number one thing they look at is graduation rates. Speaking of graduation rates, I'll be making a presentation to a National Superintendents Association this weekend, out of state. I'll just say that. And actually, I'm joining together with another superintendent from another state. Actually, he's from California, and we're actually going to present together.
Y'all gonna
And-
practice?
Well, we've been talking a lot on the phone, and Jonathan's kind of helped put together our presentation.
Oh, thank goodness.
So we've been communicating for the last 2 or 3 months. But it's just an honor to represent
Absolutely.
Putnam County at the national level. Not about me, it's about our district, and people from around the nation are actually paying attention to what we're doing. I actually presented a week ago in Orlando about the same type thing, so we're getting a lot of publicity out there about our graduation rates, and it's a credit to all of you. This Friday, as you know, we started a series on Inside Putnam producing videos about our school district and things in the community. We want to make it, again, a partnership. Mike McDaniel, who we all know and love, has spent the last 6 weeks working on a special video about Veterans Day. And I actually saw it today or last night for the first time, but it is highlighting a local American hero, Robert H. Jenkins. And it goes into detail about his life and exactly what he did in Vietnam. And of course, I was a principal at Jenkins for 10 years and did not realize some of the stuff that was brought out in that video and about how he actually saved his comrade's life.
Yes.
And it is phenomenal. And they interview Robert's family, they interview his
Leo
commanding
Granger.
officer, and I would highly recommend that you look at this. It will be released Friday, and we've really kind of tweaked it, but it is in time for Veterans Day. It's about 20 minutes long, so take some time to look at it. And normally our videos aren't that long, but I think in order for us to tell the whole story, it needed to be that long. But the best thing about it is we're actually going to use this as a teaching tool for our local students.
That's great.
Talking about history and the Vietnam War. It's got a lot of footage from the Vietnam War. So please look at our Facebook page Friday, and
Would you send us an email?
and we'll have a little thing on there. But I think we're going to send that out to all our employees too by email. But it is so important, and I'm so proud of that. And thanks to Mike for all his time he spent on that. Last thing I'm going to say is December 17th at that board meeting, we are going to be presenting the state of the district. Our next board meeting, as you know, is our reorganizational meeting, and we are conducting business. Talking about our regular board meeting on the 17th, is that right? November 17th. But again, for December 17th, I will do a presentation and highlight everything we've done over the past year. So that should be a highlight. We look forward to that. And Felicia, you know, will be on leave during that time, so she's getting all that together now, so we'll be prepared to present that. I'm sorry, that's the 19th, November 19th. December 17th is the one board meeting in December.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah. And by the way, in front of you, I believe you gave them copies of the board meetings, and we did add
Yes.
the 2 additional night meetings. That won't be voted on until the next board meeting, but I do want you to look at that, and so you'll have time to kind of look at your calendar to make sure that's
Thank you.
workable. And that's all I have, Madam
Okay.
Chair.
If there is nothing else to come before the board, we are officially adjourned.